And most people haven't heard of it because you're not supposed to hear of it. As Edward Bernays, who wrote a book on propaganda back in the 1920s, said, we are governed, our minds are molded, our tastes are formed, our ideas suggested largely by men we have never heard of. They're the ones who control the media. And remember, if you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. But if you read the newspapers and the magazines, you're misinformed or disinformed. We'll be right back, and give us a call. Well, Bob, certainly as we look and see this whole story unfolding, I'd just like to briefly touch on something that you touched on in your latest newsletter. It was either the last one or the one before that, but I think it was the last one where you talked about how the people in embassies throughout the world were being told that they should start purchasing large quantities of the domestic currency of the land where they are actually of the country that they're stationed in. What's that all about?
Well, I think what's going to happen as the dollar goes down and tests 71.18, which it tested previously, it's turned out to be what you'd call a bottom. And this testing process, I think, is going to bring about the same results that we saw back between November of 2007 and probably June of 2008, when other countries, companies within those countries, didn't want to accept the dollar because it had gone down in value. And if you remember the stories about people who were visiting the Taj Mahal and other places in India, they wouldn't accept dollars. They wouldn't accept them in Buenos Aires and in other countries. And I think that that's going to happen again. I think that's going to be an even stronger set of events than it was last time. And it's only a matter of time before 71.18 is broken. And when that happens, there'll be just a stampede out of dollars.
All right, fine. So, my concern is that the dollar is going to continue losing its value, but what's that going to mean to the average individual who's holding dollars, or their pension funds in dollars? Certainly their annuities are in dollars, their insurance policies are in dollars, their life savings are invested in the stock market or in stocks and bonds. What's it going to mean to them?
Well, I would think that the market would go down, bonds would go down, and that means that investments in cash value, whole life or universal life products would go down. There are exceptions to that, and that is mutual companies usually will hold bonds in their portfolios. But even bonds will go down, but not as much as stocks. Stocks could go down as much as 70 or 80% from their highs, whereas bonds probably would go down 30 or 40%. But irrespective, the losses are going to be there if my prognostications are correct. And that will raise havoc with pension plans. We've already seen pensions come down something in the order of anywhere between 20% and 60%, depending upon what you've got and who's doing what. But I think the average is probably around 35% presently, and that's much better off from an average of 45%, which it was experiencing 9 weeks ago.
All right, fine. Well, our guest is Bob Chapman, and we're going to be back here in just a moment. He's going into what's really happening. Well, this is Dr. Stan. Our guest is Bob Chapman for the International Forecaster. Our telephone number is 1-888-24-LIBERTY. 1-888-24-LIBERTY. Or here on the Central Coast of California at 464-8295. And, of course, what we're seeing is the government is going to take over General Motors. Is it going to be the majority owner in General Motors. The government is taking over Chrysler, and we're only going to own 10 or 15% of Chrysler. We're giving the rest of it to our good friends in an Italian company. Now, why didn't they put Chrysler up for bid so that anybody could bid on it and buy it? Well, because they wanted to give it to Fiat. Fiat is not putting any money into this. And, of course, the way it's set up, Fiat could end up owning either 30% or even as much as 51% of Chrysler, and it's not going to cost them a cent. But you see, the vice chairman of Fiat is a member of the Trilateral Commission, and certainly the people who put Barack Obama into office, the people who surround him, 11 of the key positions in his administration, cabinet officials, high government officials, advisors, come from the 87 members of the Trilateral Commission, only a little club, but they're part of the Brotherhood of Darkness. They're really the key coordinating organization, and you see how this works. I mean, the Trilateralists advised Barack Obama, advised him to turn Chrysler over to an Italian company for absolutely nothing, because one of their buddies, the vice chairman of the Trilateral Commission, just happens to be a member of their little clique. He's one of the Italian members, of course. Well, a mobile college is called, and could General Motors or could the government sell General Motors or some of the other companies to the Chinese communists? What will China do with its trillions of dollars that it's owning? Is China going to come in here and start buying up American corporations so that money cannot be destroyed as the value of the dollar tumbles? Because I don't think they believe Mr. Geithner, as you pointed out when Mr. Geithner spoke in China just recently. The students there laughed at him because they know it's ridiculous. Of course the dollar is going down. Of course China is going to get simply taken advantage of and exploited. They're holding, I don't know how many trillions of dollars of American debt, but an awful lot of our debt, and not only our debt, but then the other agency paper and other things. And as suddenly the value of the dollar goes down, they lose their investment. People have worked hard in China. They accumulated these reserves, and now they're going to be destroyed by simply the destruction of the dollar. So what's going to happen? Do you think the Chinese are going to come in and start buying up as much in the way of stocks or part of companies as they possibly can to protect their investments?
Yeah, I think that's a natural thing for them to do. They've been burned sufficiently and investing in the United States in companies. Everything they've done has gone down considerably. So I think they would be more prone to try to buy companies rather than buy the shares in them, so to speak, and make it a market play, as opposed to buying assets and controlling them and running them. And that's what I think will probably happen in the final analysis. But I think by the time they get around to trying to do that, when they realize that's what they should have been doing in the first place, along with buying about 5 times more gold than they have already, I think they're going to get shut out. I think the dollar on the USDX, by the time they really catch on, is going to be down to 40, and they will have lost about 65% from the top of the value on the dollars that they've accumulated. And I don't feel sorry for them, and the reason why is that in order to take the American market, they accepted the terms, which was continue to devalue your currency, do business with the United States, accumulate dollars, take the dollars and monetize them by printing yuan. That is what they would do to lower the value of their currency, and at the same time take the dollars and buy U.S. treasuries. And as long as that went okay, it was all right, and the dollar held its value, but it's not holding its value any longer, and they shouldn't have expected it to.